wife, a loving mother, a beloved daughter, a beloved sister has died, and her loss extends to other family and friends, many of whom are gathered here today or viewing the church service or the funeral service online. I'd like to take a moment to read Melanie's obituary. It reads, Mel passed away Wednesday, September the 1st, 2021 at Rose Arbor Hospice in Kalamazoo after a long battle with cancer. She was born December the 29th, 1966 in Plainwell, the daughter of Irv and Elaine Feigl. Mel was an elementary school teacher in Coloma and Lawrence, retiring after 27 years from the Lawrence Public Schools. The love of her life was working with children, and she enjoyed sharing her ideas with other teachers. Mel was known for being a procrastinator and loved movies and trivia. She belonged to book clubs and was a class advisor. Most of all, Mel loved spending time with her family. On June the 29th, 1991, at the Otsego Church of God, she married Todd Rice, who survives. Also surviving are her children, Quentin Rice of Rochester Hills and Tessa Rice of Lawton, her parents, siblings Julie and Steve Potter and Matthew Feigl, sister-in-law Pattis Run Simblick, mother-in-law Phyllis Rice, along with many nieces, nephews, and extended family members. She was preceded in death by her grandparents and father-in-law, Arlen Rice. Contributions in memory of Melanie may be made to Hospice Care of Southwest Michigan or the American Cancer Society. And just a reminder that there will be a lunch in Melanie's honor immediately following this funeral service in our fellowship hall, which is right behind here. So we invite you to stay if you're able to take part in that. And the family also requests, as you get in crowds, if you're able to wear a mask in honor of Melanie, that was something that was important to her, and she would appreciate that. An obituary never tells the entire story of any person's life, so it has been good to hear and read and share memories of Melanie over the past number of days. The family kind of created an outline for the service today, which goes faith, father, friends, and family. And so I am doing the faith part. I got to know Melanie serving as her pastor over the past several years. Melanie and Todd were regular in our church attendance up until COVID hit. Of course, COVID changed everything. And as a person battling cancer, Melanie had to do whatever she could do to keep her immune system strong. That was one reason the family requested the mask wearing today. But I kept up with Melanie and with her Facebook site, I Will Fight This Horrible Disease, that she began in February of 2019. In the time of sharing memories with the family, the story was brought up about how Todd and Melanie got together. Todd's track coach was Melanie's father, Irv. And Irv suggested to Todd that he take out his daughter. And once they started dating and fell in love, it was a match made in heaven. Now, Todd was a coach, and since Melanie's dad was a coach, Melanie loved sports. Melanie had a cheer that could be heard by everyone. And so all of that led to the scripture reading that I read from Hebrews chapter 12. These things picture life as a race, as a sporting event. Life as a long-distance run. And a couple things I want to highlight this morning about Melanie's race using those Bible verses. First of all, Melanie's race involved a rugged course. It says, run the race marked out for us. And Melanie's race was not always an easy race. She had many times where her race was downhill with the wind at her back. I think of her great marriage, her wonderful family, her awesome children, her marvelous teaching career. Melanie's daughter, Tessa, and Melanie gave everybody nicknames, so Tessa's was Messy Tessie. But Melanie's daughter, Tessa, described her mom as a wonderful teacher, and she was the reason that Tessa got into teaching. Melanie's race was also marked with a rugged uphill battle with cancer. As I said, Melanie kept her friends posted on that uphill battle through the Facebook page, "I will fight against this horrible disease." The initial post on February the 13th, 2019 read, "As all of you know, I am in another fight against this awful disease. I created this page to inform all my friends and family how I appreciate you by sending me all your thoughts and prayers. I will update this page regularly to share with you all about how I am feeling. Take care, and I love you all." As I followed that page, as recent as July 16th, Melanie wrote, "Just a quick update. My CT scan was stable. There were no new tumor growth. The doctor would like to continue on the same chemo treatments 4 more times. I am telling myself that I have gone this far in fighting this disease, so keep up the treatment that is keeping the tumor stable. However, I had a small amount of fluid buildup in my lungs and abdomen. The fluid is putting pressure on my lungs and causing minor pain and minor breathing problems. Therefore, tomorrow I am having an outpatient procedure to drain the fluid from both areas. The doctor wants to check the fluid for any cancer cells or infection. I am hoping and praying for no problem procedure and no cancer cells in the fluid. Thank you for everyone for your thoughts and prayers and constant support." And then that led to the final post, which was from her son, Quentin Hubert. It said he posted last night, and this was September the 2nd, "Last night, Mom lost her battle. She found a lot of comfort in this page, and your encouragement kept her going. While we are all heartbroken, we are relieved that she is no longer in pain. Thank you so much for all who have reached out, visited, asked about her, and sent words of love and encouragement these last 4 years." Melanie ran a rugged course with perseverance, with endurance. We all probably face times in life when the course we are running gets rough and rugged. And this is probably one of those times for family and friends. But a second thing I will mention about Melanie's race of life is that she needed a rigorous commitment. It says, "Let us run with perseverance the race. Let us throw off everything that hinders us." As running a long-distance race takes commitment, takes training, so running the race of life does also. And Melanie demonstrated that perseverance as she battled her cancer. She developed some supports as she persevered and lived out her commitment. Her family was one of those amazing supports. As I got with them last week, you could sense their love and their support. Melanie was blessed to have a wonderful family like you, and you were obviously blessed to have her. Another support was the church. As I stated, prior to COVID, Melanie and Todd were regulars in church. They found a community of faith that would support them. Another one of their supports was prayer. As you read through Melanie's Facebook page, "I will fight this horrible disease," there is the constant request for prayer, as well as the constant offer that others were praying for her. Todd shared with me what I call Melanie's prayer. I think it's on the back of your program. But this was a prayer she prayed constantly. "Help me this week. When I feel down and out, give me your wisdom. When I'm sad and lonely, pick me up. When I'm lost, guide my feet. I can do all things through you. Please keep me encouraged and protect the ones I love. Amen." Without the prayers of others, it is hard to make it through sometimes. And I assure this family that we will be praying for you in the days ahead. And then Melanie also found support through special readings, which again are included on the back of your program. One of those read, "Perhaps they are not stars in the sky, but rather openings where our loved ones shine down to let us know they are happy." Her favorite shirt said simply, "Be kind." A favorite saying from Dr. Seuss, "To the world you may be just one person, but to one person you may be the world." And her last saying on her phone was, "Those we love don't go away. They fly beside us every day." With those supports, Melanie's commitment to her race always remained strong. And I hope those things keep your commitment strong and growing as you run the race of life. And then finally, to run the race of life successfully, Melanie needed the right coach. Those verses tell us, "Fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith." In sports, good coaching can make all the difference in the world. A sporting family like yours knows that. Melanie knew that. She was raised by one of the best coaches. She married one of the best coaches. In the Christian life, our coach is Jesus, and Melanie's coach was Jesus. These verses tell us to keep our eyes on the coach. Melanie did that in the many ways that we've already mentioned. She made prayer a priority to keep in contact with her coach, Jesus. When I last visited Melanie in hospice in the final week of her life, we gathered around her bed for a prayer for strength and comfort from Jesus, her coach. Melanie also attended church regularly to keep in contact with her coach, Jesus. She would occasionally reach out to me as her pastor to help her stay in contact with her coach, Jesus. Never forget, in running the race of life, we have in Jesus a coach who himself ran the race faithfully and successfully. Jesus knows how to overcome. Jesus overcame sin by living a sinless life and dying on a cross for our sin. Jesus overcame death by raising from the dead. Our coach, Jesus, can help us to overcome whatever this life brings our way. Melanie ran the race of life. It was a rugged course with a rigorous commitment, but with the right coach, Jesus Christ. And let me read those great words of assurance from the book of 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. It says, "I have fought a good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day." Melanie's life challenges us now. Run your race and keep the faith. Okay, at this time, there's going to be a song.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory.
Different perspective looking out from here than being there. See how you do it, I guess. Elaine, there are lots and lots of people here, and family, Todd. Elaine and I are the proud parents of Julie, Melanie, and Matthew, and we're the proud parents of Brock, Nolan, Quentin, and Tessa. Phyllis Stridle, who along with her husband Jack raised 8 children and 3 of their grandchildren because they lost their daughter to cancer when she was in her 20s. Well, Phyllis told Elaine one time, and I'll try to quote this, if you can raise your children and get them through high school without them embarrassing you, you've done your job. And Phyllis should know. She raised a lot of kids. But you know, Phyllis didn't say anything about parents embarrassing their kids or parents embarrassing their grandchildren. Well, over the years, Elaine and I have done a good share of that, of embarrassing our kids and our grandchildren. You know, as Melanie grew up, she obtained many different names. When she was about 3 years old, I believe, she came up to Elaine and me and she said, "My name is Mila." And Elaine and I sort of looked at each other, "Mila?" And she says, "Yep, I've changed my name to Mila." So we sort of went along with that, and we called Melanie Mila for a while. And then after Mila, I had this friend who was sort of a, well, as they say now, lived out of the box a little bit. And this friend was a guy by the name of Jeff Ladd, and he would visit our family once in a while. And Jeff was sort of a funny guy, and he loved to tease my kids, and he used to get them fired up, get them all excited, then he'd leave and leave it to Elaine and I to settle them down. But Jeff decided one day that he was going to give my kids a different name. So he looked at Julie and he said, "You're a Phyllis." No offense, Phyllis Rice, but he said, "Julie, you're Phyllis, and Matt, we're going to call you Donnie." And my kids go, and then in comes the living room, Melanie, in her little pigtails. And Elaine sort of dressed her funny at times. But Melanie came in, and Jeff said, "Automatic, Betty Lou." And so Donnie's name didn't stick very long. Phyllis's didn't stick very long, but Betty Lou was there up until this last year at least. Anytime our family talked about Betty, we knew who we were talking about. And for some reason, I think even some of her high school friends called her Betty. So that was her name to go along with Mila and Melanie. Well, when I told one of my professors in college that I was going to get married, and he informed me, if you want to get a vision of your wife, just look at her mother, and that's your wife in 30 years. Well, my goodness, he was so right. Elaine's mother's name was Bernadine, and I'm married to Bernadine number 2. And you guess it, Melanie is Bernadine number 3. So, and Tessa, you have some potential here. However, Tessa, you're still Melanie number 2 to us. So, same looks, same mannerisms, same laughs, so loving and so lovable. Speaking about lovable, and what I refer to as heartwarming, those of you who've attended an early elementary Christmas program know what I'm talking about. The voices of little first graders singing, or yelling you might call it, are the best sounds that someone can hear. Julie and Mel both became lower elementary teachers, so we've attended our share of those type of programs. Up on a housetop, click, click, click. I can see that with the kids clicking and with their hands and moving, and their teachers, Melanie and Wendy, trying to get them coordinated. And I can still see all that, and it was so funny to watch them sing during the Christmas program. That is heartwarming. Well, about 6 or 7 years ago, my hearing got so, it wasn't just selective hearing. And I was being a little stubborn about getting hearing aids, to say the least. Pretty much my whole family was always on my case. Even my family doctor, who mumbled all the time, suggested that I buy some hearing aids. And then, I don't know, one night I received a call from Melanie, and I will repeat, "Dad, do you realize there are hearing aids that are invisible?" I said, "Mel, think about what you just told me. If they're invisible, how am I going to find them to put them in my ears? Well, I finally took all this abuse and I went to the audiologist and got tested. And I was told that I was hearing about 1 out of 3 words correctly. Elaine's nodding her head down there. And I didn't think that was so bad, because if a major league player gets 1 hit in three times at bat, he's batting .333 and he's an all-star. So that wasn't that bad. But as I look out here today and see all of you, quite a crowd, we thank you for all the texts, all the condolences, all the comforting cards, all the beautiful flowers. And it's very much appreciated. The Figo family, the Rice family, the Potter family, Mel's Lawrence family, they've been so wonderful. And all those wonderful children that were such an important part of Melanie's life. You know, we may not be able to see her anymore, but she's not invisible, because she's embedded into all of our memories and our hearts forever. Thank you.
I love you, Irv. I'm going to reminisce about Melanie as a friend. Melanie touched my life with such a beautiful voice. I'm purposely wearing my tie-dye mask today because I feel like tie-dye symbolizes Melly's personality. Melanie had a tie-dye charm. Fun, colorful, vibrant, spirited, and so very animated. A few other appropriate adjectives I might come up with: accepting, adaptable, genuine, compassionate, patient, loving, and oh so kind. I'm sitting down with my family and I'm clutching a picture. It's actually a picture that's been running on the wall, and it's been giving me strength. It's a picture from a girls' trip that I took to Traverse City just 2 months ago. The 4 of us went to enjoy friendship and love and togetherness, and we kept to ourselves, took in some sights, and one day we ended up in this sweet little bookstore north of Traverse City in Sutton's Bay. And we spotted this book, a book that Melanie said was made just for me. It's the little book of Poohisms. She and I stood in the back corner of the sweet little store, and we flipped through this book. It's broken up into chapters with all these little Pooh sayings. And of course, we went to the chapter on friendship. And there were 2 sayings in this chapter that she said, "That's us." And she was talking about the 4 of us. Those 2 sayings were, "It would appear that together or apart, we are still the best of friends." People have said that. And I feel this compulsion as a little child educator to show you the picture. The other saying about friendship says, "How lucky I am to have such unique and wonderful friends." Without doubt. Who knows what he's talking about? So before I worked at Lawrence Elementary, I knew Mel as Pete's coworker and Jessica's kindergarten teacher. Mel actually introduced Jessica to her lifelong best friend. And I quickly got to know her as a fellow mom, as she was one of us who raised the teacher kids. We raised our teacher kids together, and we became our own little family. Our kids became family to one another. They played together while parents were working in the rooms on the weekends. They played together when parents were at meetings after school. And I can still vividly see the older kids, Quinn, Connor, playing with the Legos. They're still friends to this day. Our younger kids that we have raised together, since they were tiny, are still the very best of friends. Tessa, my Joshua, Peyton, Alex, invaluable friendships. And during those years when our kids were little and we were raising the teacher kids, we moms and dad, we progressed into being true friends. And we learned so much from Mel about parental patience, flexibility, humility, and grace. And then in those final years, when Mel was waging her war on cancer, and she still came to school for those little people, we learned incredible personal lessons of perseverance, determination, fortitude, dedication, vitality, and tremendous courage. In our lives, we all make choices about who we surround ourselves with. Who will make us better people? That's the goal. I feel like I've done pretty well through my whole life in making those choices. I definitely did with Mel. And she chose me, and I feel honored. So a few nights ago, on a beautiful, almost fall evening, Wendy, Sue, and I got together to reminisce, tell stories about our coworker, our best friend, our kindred spirit. And we were searching for favorite stories, only to realize that favorite didn't exist, because all of our Melanie memories are favorites. Regardless of where or when, whether we were at work, whether we were hanging out in my living room, whether we were standing by the gate at a football game, Melanie gave warmth, compassion, support, and, of course, her own unique sense of humor. And I think we all can see where she got some of that sense of humor. Her sense of humor and her laugh, I think if we all take 2 seconds and just think, we can hear Mel laugh in our heads. I can conjure it up, and I love that laugh so much. And I know that we could all agree that that laugh delivers happiness, and right now it gives us comfort and it gives us strength. It undoubtedly gives us smiles. Today we need and we want to smile. So we have Mel here, and if we listen, we have Mel's laugh here. Mel could find humor in everything, and God bless her, she helped us do the same. That's a truly needed skill in this world, and Mel had it. Usually she'd use jokes, her corny jokes. Those jokes, sometimes at lunch, would get staff members through the rest of their long, hard afternoons. Those jokes that would deliver Mel's special humor. Those jokes that would bring us together or lighten the mood, add to a good time we were having. They would always summon a smile. They still summon a smile. And how about Mel's whimsical ability to give us all a nickname? The best nicknames. We all got them. So if you're sitting there thinking, I didn't have a nickname, yes, you did. Just didn't know it yet. And it was all from her heart. She referred to our small friend group as besties. She referred to me as Sherry Berry. Or most of the time, she sang the other nickname to me, Sherry Baby. I called her Melly Sue. She had nicknames for all the participants on her Girls on the Run team. She had some really good ones. Sue Goldenberg's nickname of Susie Q and Mrs. Goldenrod. Barb Smith's nickname of Barbara Bush. Wendy's nickname, Wendy. Pete was Petey. My Joshua is Joshy. Tessa Bear, Cubert, Toddles. And my very, very, very favorite, I'm sorry, Todd, Toilet Todd. Because he could fix a mean toilet. Melanie also did some hilarious and animated, good-natured impersonations. Again, you're thinking she never impersonated me? Yes, she did. It was always in good fun. It was always from her heart. No unkindness in Mel. She simply used verbal silliness to create caricatures of those she cared about. She wanted to bring laughter, smiles, goofiness to our lives. She wanted to shape her environment into enjoyment and amusement. And given that she was one of the very best storytellers any of us will ever know, and again, we can see where she got it, I'll share just a few short stories about Melly Sue. So when Melly was teaching kindergarten, she was teaching with Louise Perkins. And the annual kindergarten feast for Thanksgiving was coming. So Melanie very graciously offered to bring the turkey. The big feast, it has everything. So the turkey, that was a big deal, especially for Mel, who was not a domestic goddess. So the day of the feast arrives. They're going to roast the turkey through the day, ready for the feast in the afternoon before they can pack the little people up and send them home. So Louise and Melanie get there early. Early in the morning, Melanie's so proud. She brought the turkey. She brought the turkey. Here, Louise, here is a totally frozen turkey. Louise, being a kindergarten teacher, had to be a very big problem solver. She cleaned out her sink. She defrosted that turkey, and that thing was roasted for the big feast later that day. Another example of dear Melly Sue's domestic prowess would be her homemade cookies. Her homemade cookies. Each and every friend gathering that we had, every potluck, every school luncheon, everything. Dear, dear Melly provided her delicious homemade cookies that just happened to come in that hard plastic packaging that was sealed with a store sticky because she wanted them to look good. So that's what she did. Memories of Melly sitting at the head of the lunch table in the school lounge, ready, willing, eager to share tales of her morning in the classroom, eating her very, very, very thick peanut butter and jelly sandwich that Tessa would make her daily. Enough peanut butter, I'm thinking Tessa probably cleaned out a jar every morning for that sandwich. Mel always ate it, and Mel always loved it. Melly was a gifter. She intentionally gave us giggles. Mine were usually very ugly, snorting belly laughs, but for the most part, she gave us all giggles. She gave us joy, merriment, spiritual buoyancy, comfort, encouragement, hope, and optimism. Melly gave the gift of pure friendship, and that doesn't go away. She's already given it to us. It's ours to keep. And that was Melly's intention, an enduring, lifelong gift to all of us. We are truly, truly blessed.
Were there any more friends that were going to share? Okay, at this time, I think there's a song.
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine, yeah. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine when all I would do is forever, forever worship you. I can only imagine.
Pastor, does the mic go down that far?
That was mean. That was really mean. I'm sure it does. Okay. So everyone can hear me. See, the mic did go down far enough, just letting you know. Okay. I've got my glasses though, so this should be fun. Hi everyone, and thank you all for coming today to remember the life of my mom, Melanie Rice. She was one of the most amazing human beings on this earth, and I'm so grateful and lucky to say that I got to spend 21 years of my life with her as my mother, despite the fact that I wish we had more years together. I wrote a poem earlier in the week that I hope she would like me to share with you all. I wrote it in cursive for about an hour last night. It was supposed to go on her urn, but that didn't happen this morning. It's a little small for the poem, so, okay. I have memories captured in picture frames recording the years gone by, but I'd rather have you standing by my side. I will have trinkets of silver and gold to help remember you by, but I'd rather have you here now at my side. I have clothing and shoes with tags still fastened on, always being passed by, but I'd get rid of all items unused to walk by your side. Despite all my demands, I know this cannot be. You are at another side, watching down on me. While this poem discusses how much I miss my mom, along with my wish to still have her with us, I would like to instead focus on how much extra time I had with her due to this little thing called hope. My mom was always so hopeful, even after all she went through. She experienced chemotherapy treatments week in and week out, never losing her bright spirit and beautiful smile. Even as she went through some of her most trying times, she continuously fought her battle with cancer, hoping that she would get better. It is because of that hope that we got to enjoy her happy laughter and radiant energy for as long as we did. Hope, while seemingly fragile and indecipherable, is what allows us to have the strength to carry on through our toughest days, which is exactly what my mom did every day on this earth. Through both the stable and turbulent times in her life, my mom always believed that the next day would be better than the day before. It is with this hope that she was able to be optimistic when all seemed too difficult, strong when she was at her weakest points, and patient when it seemed like a cure would not get here fast enough. My mom's hope for a brighter future for herself and all others fighting difficult battles, especially cancer, allowed many of us in this building to have extra time with one of the brightest and most beautiful people we will ever get the pleasure of meeting. She was able to gain strength from hope, which is one of the many things that I will forever remember about my extraordinary mother. Thank you, guys.
My mom was born the daughter of a middle school teacher and coach and an elementary school secretary. And she was the granddaughter of a World War II veteran who stormed the beaches of Normandy. From the very beginning of her life, she was exposed and entrenched into the idea of service. She was a great student and had a good personality and could have done anything she wanted. But she didn't quite realize that you could buy things with money, and so she decided to be a teacher. But that was my mom, always serving. Teaching was something that she was not only passionate about, but very, very good at. One of the things that's been amazing to hear over the last few weeks from parents and students alike is how much they enjoyed her as a teacher. She was a natural, but she was also always improving, always learning. Even late in her life after retirement, she was still finding and sharing different activities and things to do in the classroom. She never wanted to shortchange the kids and had a knack for connecting with students who were, shall we say, a little on edge. But she was so good because of this constant effort to understand and learn about the students she was teaching. She knew about their families and their backgrounds and understood what they might be going through. One of my favorite songs is by the band Mumford & Sons. It's called Below My Feet. And the main line in the chorus goes, "Keep my eyes to serve, my hands to learn." That was my mom, always serving, always learning. To add insult to injury, she married another teacher, and to top it all off, he was also a coach. Together, they had their first child, a son, and 2 years goes by and things are going pretty well. My mom is serving her students, my dad serving his students and athletes. Until one day in November when my dad is coming to meet my mom and myself at my grandparents', and on his way he gets head-on by a drunk driver. Now, these last 2 weeks have been the hardest of my life, but I have learned a lot. The thing that I have realized, and it's one of the things that's bothered me the most because I didn't realize it sooner, was how tough my mom really was. For 48 hours, they didn't know if my dad was going to live, and for weeks, they didn't know if he would ever walk again. They told her he wouldn't have the mental capacity of a fourth grader, and yet through all this, she was a rock. I too don't realize that you can buy things with money. I guess it's a genetic trait. So I coach college basketball and golf for a living. And in our programs, we talk a lot about toughness and what it looks like in the context of sports. And I always thought my dad was tough for pulling through, which he absolutely was. But my mom was tough in a different way. a way that I sadly didn't appreciate as much as I should have until these past 2 weeks. My dad did pull through, though, and aside from his ability to recall the location of his wallet and keys, he is able to live a completely normal life. So they go back to serving and being great teachers. They had another child, a daughter. And for a time, they put one foot in front of the other, walking the path of life, teaching and coaching and raising 2 kids. But then came the next hurdle, my mom's cancer diagnosis. They did surgery followed by 3 months of chemo, and for a while we thought we were out of the woods. But after about a year, she started to get really sick. My dad took her in and they found another tumor and needed to do surgery right away. The cancer had metastasized to another part of the body, meaning it was now stage 4. The surgery was successful and the tumor was removed, but all of this meant a life sentence to cancer treatment. For 2.5 years, she endured chemo after chemo after chemo. 10 days of feeling like complete crap in exchange for 10 days of feeling normal. Month after month, year after year. But she did it and would have kept doing it if it meant staying alive, because that was my mom. Always serving, always learning, always tough. And even through everything in her life, these larger hurdles, but also the everyday bumps in the road that we all face, she remained positive. My mom had a love of life that was infectious. She never shied away from showing that love, whether it be in the form of hugs, praise, words of encouragement, or her favorite, especially amongst her nieces and nephews, by picking on them. Even going through cancer and having every reason to be pessimistic or feel sorry for herself, she remained optimistic and hopeful that something would change, and she would get to remain here, loving life a little longer. But that was my mom. Always serving, always learning, always tough, always positive. So I stand here today sad. Sad of the things she will miss and guilty of the times where I maybe could have been a better son, more present, more loving towards her. But I don't think that's the way she would want me to feel. I think the best way to honor her is to try and take these things that made her who she was and try to live them out as best as I can. And maybe you would like to do the same. Maybe even if we don't work a job that revolves around the direct service of others, maybe we can still take time each day to better someone else's life through service. Maybe even if we are busy, consumed in our everyday life, we can still take some time out to be a better person, parent, child, spouse, employee, by trying to learn something each day. Maybe even if we are going through hardship that some people can't even imagine, maybe we can still reach in and find toughness to grind our way through. And maybe even if we're a little cynical by nature, or things just aren't going our way, maybe we can tap into optimism and find a little hope to get us through the storm. I hope every day we can honor my mom by being a little more like her, serving a little more, learning a little more, being a little tougher, and being a little more positive. Thank you.
Well, after hearing those two, you guys obviously know that they got their brains from their mother. After following that, I hope I can do as good a job. I have to take my glasses off. I have a tendency of losing things. So if I forget them, somebody please remind me after this is over. Okay. To begin, I would like to thank you for showing up today to honor my perfect wife, my perfect friend, my perfect companion for life, Melanie Rice. She really did complete me. Many of you don't know, but it was an arranged marriage. I need to get something real quick. Sorry about that. Okay. It was an arranged marriage. Maybe more ways than one. I believe it was God's plan for years. You see, we were looking at pictures for the funeral at my in-laws when we came across a picture from a newspaper, Melanie playing basketball. On the back was a picture of a football player from a different school wearing number 60, named Todd Rice. Even stranger was the fact that I had the same picture in my scrapbook at home. Even before we knew each other, we were connected. But the marriage was also arranged at a human level, and that story begins with my first date, which was, of course, set up by my father-in-law, Irv. He and I worked together at Plainville softball field, and he was my boss. Still is. It all started after Elaine and Melanie brought us lunch one day. After they left, I asked Irv if Melanie was dating anyone. He replied, "No. Are you?" I told him no, to which he said, "She is driving me nuts at home. You should ask her out." I might even pay for the date, he said. However, if you know Irv, that never happened. Well, I wasn't going to ask Melanie right out in front of Irv, but luckily I got my chance later that week when she showed up to the softball game I was playing with her sister's, Julie's, boyfriend and future husband, Steve. After the game, I asked Steve for the permission to ask Melanie out. He thought I was nuts. He replied, "Yeah, but I'm not her dad." I definitely knew that, but I needed someone else to give me the confidence to ask her out. So with my newly built-up confidence, I approached her after the game and asked her on a date. I couldn't believe it. She said yes. So now we're on our first date. We went to the movies in Kalamazoo. After 10 minutes, the electricity went out. And when we walked outside, we realized most of Kalamazoo had lost its power. So I asked her if she wanted to go somewhere else, like Lake Michigan. She said, "No, let's just go back to my parents' house," which I thought, wow, I'm in trouble. Only 10 minutes into the date and she already wants to go home. Per Melanie's suggestion, we went home and watched a movie with Irv and Elaine. We had popcorn even. After the movie was over, we walked outside, and Melanie gave me a kiss. Goodbye. And I thought, I have a chance. One thing that I realized right away was that family meant everything to Melanie. This made her a perfect match for me, because if you know my family and how big it is, this quality makes her the perfect daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, aunt, and niece-in-law that God could have picked for us. Melanie had a great sense of humor. We would laugh and smile at the same things, and man, I loved her laugh and smile. She was also a little mischievous, and when she knew she had gotten away with something, she would give me this little smirk. I'm sure that some of you remember that side of Melanie and what that smirk looked like. Very quickly into our relationship, I realized that Melanie was a huge procrastinator. She would wait until the last minute to get an assignment done, which she gave to both her children, especially Tessa. She finished all this last night at about 2 o'clock. I thought we were going to have trouble getting here. The thing was, she was smart enough to get away with it all. When I would ask her to help me with my papers, she would wait until the last minute also, which scared the heck out of me. That is one of the many times that she would give me that mischievous smirk. I think she liked to get me a little worked up. After about 3 months, I knew I was going to ask her to marry me. It just took another 8 months to get the courage and, of course, save up for the ring. Once we were married, she started teaching. I learned about her love for children that she taught. Melanie was a natural. She truly had a gift for teaching. She loved to come home and tell stories about her day in the classroom. She loved all students, which included both the ones that were sweet and nice and the ones that were a little deviant and naughty. She especially had a soft spot for the second group of students mentioned because she liked the challenge. Helping naughty and deviant students brought her competitive nature out. One night she came through the door laughing. I asked her what she was laughing about. And she told a story, what happened at school with a little boy. And she did it in the same voice that he did to her. He said he called me a mother trucker. I said, but we all know what that, you know what that is, right? So later that week, that same student got frustrated with her. And he said, Mrs. Weiss, you's a maniac. We laughed so hard after both of these stories. In addition, calling people maniacs became a long-running joke in our family. Whenever Melanie was giving me a hard time, I would say, Mrs. Weiss, quit being a maniac. I also realized that Mel's love for sports. She probably had no choice in the matter, considering her father was a coach. These experiences in the coaching world gave her a great insight into living with a coach. She knew the hours. She knew how much time was going to be spent away from her and the family. Mel also knew that it was like what it was like to sit in the crowd and listen to everyone question your every call. That insight again made her the perfect wife. I truly believe she loved sports just as much as I did, especially when it came to watching Quinn and Tessa play. She was their biggest fans. She enjoyed going to all of her nieces and nephews' games as well. Also, Mel would always sit with me and watch a game on TV. When I would yell at the refs or start saying Ohio State was cheating again, she would reply, you know they can't hear you. But when I left the room for something, I would all of a sudden hear her yelling, come on, ref, what the heck are you doing? Or, come on, guys, you can make a free throw. So, of course, I'd have to let her know they couldn't hear her either. After our nieces and nephews were born, I realized how much Melanie liked to tease and joke with them, along with our own children, Quinn and Tessa. When she came into a room for a holiday, all the kids would yell, hello, Smelly Melly. Melanie would then reply, hi, Erica Eric, Kylie Kyle, Spooky Lukey, Allie Cakes Al, Betsy Boo, Gilbert, or Claybird, and, of course, Katie Bug. They loved to pick on her, and she loved to pick on them. During all of my time spent with her, she was always one of the kindest, most loving people in a room, and her favorite t-shirt that she always wore was "Be kind," in all caps. She had great empathy for others, especially for students. One time, when Mel first started teaching, she took $40 out of our $50 we had in the bank. To buy snacks for the class and socks and a hat for a student. I noticed pretty quickly that our funds were low and asked what she spent the $40 on. She told me how she spent it on her students, saying, don't worry, we have $10 left, and we get paid in 2 days. And I have a quarter of a tank of gas to make it back and forth for those 2 days. By the way, Melanie ran out of gas 6 times in our marriage. That's what I know of. Melanie had such a great spirit, happy attitude, loving soul. Every one of these qualities was contagious. Most of all, she would light up a room with her smile and laugh. Whenever I was having a bad day or lost a game, she would always say something positive, flash me that smile, or she would say something sarcastic and laugh. This would always cheer me up, and I can't begin to tell you how much I will miss that. After her death this past week, I realized how much she was the yin to my yang. I have felt so lost without her, totally in a fog. She always kept me organized, and she was the driver of our life together. If you know me, I lose things all the time. Mel would consistently roll her eyes at me whenever this happened. She would then try to help me by saying, "Where were you last?" Or, "Todd, your glasses are on your face." Her biggest thing when we would leave from somewhere would be to ask me if I had my keys, my wallet, my phone, my glasses, like a checklist. After that, she would say, "Do you have your butt?" And then she would laugh, thinking she was really funny. Then she would always yell, "Let's go, Quinn and Tessa, before your dad loses something else." And then she would give me that mischievous smile. Lately, I've been thinking how blessed I was to have a beautiful wife, both inside and out. A wife that gave me such great family, friends, who gave me awesome children. What I thought the most of all about was a text that I received from my cousin John. He asked me if I remembered when I took him and his family to a Western football game to meet my awesome girlfriend. He called her a hottie at the time. He told me that I definitely married up, and man, was he right. I have no idea why I was the lucky one she chose to marry and live her life with. But maybe it truly was fate for me to be her husband for 30 years. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, for those of you that don't know me, my name, as Aunt Mel used to call me, was Betsy Boo. So Uncle Todd is my uncle, my mom's brother, and so I inherited Melanie Rice as my aunt, and I feel incredibly blessed to have spent the time I've spent with her. My Uncle Todd asked me to sing this for the service today, and I'm singing a song. It's called "Well Done," and I can't think of a better song to sing in honor of my aunt.
Every broken thing will finally be made whole. What will it be like when I come into your glory, standing in the presence of a love so beautiful? I'm waiting my whole life for that day. I will live my life to hear you say Well done, my good and faithful one. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done, my beloved child. You have run the race and now you're home. Welcome to the place where you belong. What will it be like when I hear that sound? All of heaven's angels crying out, singing holy, holy, holy are you, Lord. Singing holy, holy, holy are you, Lord. Singing holy, holy, holy are you, Lord. Waiting my whole life for that day. Until then, I'll live to hear you say, well done, my good and faithful one. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done, my beloved child. You have run the race and now you're home. Welcome to the place where you belong. Well done.
This concludes the service for Melanie Rice. As Pastor Joe mentioned, there is a luncheon back in the fellowship hall, and you're all invited to that. We're going to be excusing you by pew, so please stay seated until we come and excuse you. If you're not going to the luncheon, you can exit out the Allegan Street end, please. And Joe, would you like to lead the family out to the luncheon room? Thank you.